Kendal is one of our best-loved actors and continues to receive wide acclaim for her brilliant performances in the theatre, in both the classics and groundbreaking new plays. She's also celebrated for her television work, including The Canamile Lawn and, of course, The Good Life, which ran for 36 episodes and achieved an extraordinary audience of 28 million. Although it was made an astonishing 50 years ago, it continues to be repeated, attracting new audiences.
Two-faced, inconsiderate, selfish rat.
Who is?
You.
What?
Don't what me. Don't give me all that guff about glamour not mattering and then you spend the whole evening drooling over Eileen.
I was not drooling.
Your eyes were on stalks.
I was just being sociable.
Sociables? If you'd been any more sociable, you'd have got into her dress with her.
You're jealous.
I'm not. It's perfectly reasonable you should look at Eileen. She's a very sexy girl.
Well, what then?
Well, what you don't have to do is to go on and on and on about all the wonderful, glamorous clothes she must wear. Which do you prefer modelling? Eileen, Ossie Clark, or Mary Quant? Eileen, Oh, I know what you look nice in, Eileen. One of those nice, slinky, black, sexy numbers.
Well, she would.
Well, what about me?
You're Barbara. Look, have a glass of wine and cool down.
I don't want a glass of wine.
You feel better for it? Barbara, have a nice glass of wine.
I don't want a glass of wine.
Just not your day, is it?
Excuse me.
Well, that's just being silly, isn't it?
Felicity's acting career started when she was a baby, and her mother and father moved to India and set up a travelling theatre company.
I think my first memory was in India when I was 9 months old, but I'm told that you can't remember that far back again.
It's quite possible that you can.
Could you?
Yes.
But I remember being in a kind of pram or something, and the heat and the smell of the flowers and the smell of the roasted nuts.
And just tell me, who were your parents? What were your father and mother called?
My father was born Geoffrey Bragg, related to Melvyn. And he was born in Kendal, and he wanted to be an actor, and he was a very young actor. And he thought as a very young actor that he shouldn't have a name that was Bragg. He should have something a little more romantic. So he changed his name to Kendal because that was where he was from. So he became very early on Geoffrey Kendal. And my father was a sort of unusual kind of a bloke who really didn't want belongings or just no roots.
And was your father playing the leading parts?
Always. My father always played the leading parts.
So he was
and my
giving us
mother
his
always played the leading lady.
Oh.
And then sometimes my sister would play the leading lady, so they swapped. And I was the page boy, and then I was the younger characters like Gobbo in The Merchant of Venice.
In 1966, Merchant Ivory made a film, Shakespeare Wallah, which featured Felicity and her parents and was based on their life and work.
Was their company any good, do you think?
Yes.
Ah.
It was.
Whenever I was asked, who's your favourite actor, I'd say Mr. Kendal. And I'd seen Lord Olivier, I'd seen Mr. Brando, I'd seen Mr. Gielgud on movies. They never mesmerised me the way he did. I saw their last performance, I think it was just before Mrs. Kendal fell ill, and said, "Sir, I have to ask you one thing. Do you ever feel any sense of regret that you didn't stay on in England? Because you're as great as any of those great actors I've seen. And why don't you feel you could have stayed on and become a knight and a lord and so on, living in a mansion in London?" And he says, "I have no sense of regret because I'm not an actor. I'm a missionary. And my mission is to spread Shakespeare."
They were incredible mentors. I mean, I learnt really a craft from them, and they taught it They really did.
Did they teach it or did you absorb it?
I absorbed it, but then when I was working, and basically one of the things I did a lot of when I was young, I was in rehearsal room because I was always put to work, so I was on the script or I was getting the tea. So I saw them in rehearsal and the way they worked together to make a performance, and his notes, I picked those up more than directly to me.
And did your parents love one another? Was it a good marriage?
They had a brilliant marriage. They did. They worked together. They never spent, I think, maybe a week apart in their lives. And they lived together. They talked together. They argued together. They decided together. And they created a tribe, if you like, of these random people that the only benefit to them was that the life they would lead, but there was no security, certainly no luxury whatsoever, and no certainty of the future. So it was just the life and the travelling and the excitement of it all.
And they didn't have many possessions, I assume.
My mother had trunks, tin trunks of books, and this was a source of great anger. My father hated this because he had to get extra coolies to carry them. But she would not let go her books. Her books were her thing that went with her. He had a suit, a posh suit, a couple of shorts, very, very, very few possessions. He wanted only as much as he needed.
And how did you get educated? How did you learn to read
I
and
didn't
write?
really. I went to maybe 13 convents.
So if they're going to be somewhere for a short season, they'd put you into the local convent.
And I found later that they weren't paying, of course. It was usually the nuns or the school took pity on me, and my father would probably do an extra matinee for them. And I would be put into a class, and I was usually a year behind. And sometimes the only European girl in the class. And I think my last year I was probably 12. But I loved it. I had a wonderful time. And then I went and was in a play that evening, you know. We lived a very unusual life, in a sense, for the Europeans of that time in India, because we weren't privileged in any way. We were living with India and in all sorts of different places. And we weren't the Sabs and Memsabs that were normally there.
But you liked Indian food?
I loved Indian food. Chilies and things, and street food to me was, part of my life. And food on trains, different foods that you'd get passed through the window in the monsoon and the different seasons, the watermelons, and then in the monsoon the water chestnuts and the smoked corn, lovely things. Without a doubt, I did realise quite early on what a wonderful world it was. And I had this tribe. So they were my family, probably, which is why I like working in theatre companies now.
And did you expect it to go on forever?
I didn't expect it to go on forever. I did think that one day there was a period when I wanted to come to England and I wanted to leave the bed bugs behind and the mosquitoes. And I got a little bit resentful of the fact that I could only have one hairbrush, and I didn't know when the next new dress would come, and I only had, so many. We were all right, but we certainly didn't have anything. And it was very precarious, because we'd go from being very okay to suddenly no money at all. And I got very pissed off with this. At some point, teenage, and I thought, I want to go to England, and I want to be in an office and watching movies, American movies, that in those days I wanted a tight pencil skirt and high heels and stockings and those sort of things. And that's what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you weren't too uncomfortable here.
Oh, not at all. It was lovely.
I think you're just being polite. I'm sure you're used to much better than this. Much nicer than I can offer you.
Sometimes we go to sleep on station platforms. When you're tired, you don't mind. You don't hear the station bell going every time a train comes in. When we don't have our bedrolls, we just lie down on a stone, and cows and people and power dogs walk all over us. Don't you believe me?
And that must have been the first time I saw her in the film Shakespeare Wallah, and was very impressed. Not with her just with her personality, but with the idea that she'd at such a young age, being a professional, very romantic.
What are you doing here?
Aren't you pleased to see me?
No one is ever allowed in the dressing room when we make up.
That was my first film. But it was like, again, it was like working with family because I'd known them forever. So going on stage, or I didn't audition. They just said, oh, well, we need somebody. I would give you, I think, 100 rupees, which is about £2. And you're here, and you'll do.
And did Shakespeare Wallah, is that what changed your life, being in that
Without
film?
a doubt.
Yeah.
Because by then I really, really wanted to do more work. I wanted to come to England. We didn't have the money to come to England for a start, and I didn't know how to start, where I needed to start. The film went to the Berlin Film Festival, and then it came to the London Film Festival, and it got awards and things. And I said, right, okay, and I will stay in England. My father was furious. He said, you are crazy, you'll be unhappy, all you'll do is a mortgage round your neck, you don't understand. Come get a company and carry on the life I'm living. That's what you should do. And I thought, no, I want to try on my own, you know.
But you were rejecting him. You were rejecting him and his way of life.
I was, and he was absolutely furious.
And was he also saddened and broken by it?
I think he was saddened, and he wasn't broken. Impossible to break him. but he was saddened, and I think what he feared was that I would become commercial, that I would go into the wrong kind of television. And he didn't feel that I had the confidence or the ability to be one of the great actors and get into Stratford or anything like that.
Did he live long enough to see that you actually managed to do both?
Yes, he did, and he was thrilled. He really was.
Well, Felicity Kendal is a theatre actor at heart. But, like Judi Dench and Penelope Wilton and Maggie Smith, she's had huge success on television.
Felicity went back to India in 2010 and made a documentary film about her family and their performances of Shakespeare in India.
So here we are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Very busy, very wonderful. I'm travelling with a tiny little unit. Unlike the enormous number of people that I used to travel with, and we used to actually travel on buses like this, sometimes 25 or 30 people at a time, and then we would just pile all the luggage, 4 shows worth of stuff, onto the roof, and off we would go for sometimes 10 or 12 hours through the night.
But what was fun for a child must have been hard slog for my parents. An endless succession of late nights, early mornings, and non-stop travel with no guarantee of a booking to pay the bills. Although their utter dedication was sometimes rewarded by moments of absolute wonder.
I think of the numerous places we've visited in India, and this must be the most spectacular. We were guests, can you believe it, the royal family, and we actually performed, I think, once inside and then a couple of times on the terrace. And I can hardly actually believe that I have those memories, because they're probably the most magical of all the memories I have as a child in India.
Felicity, can I take you back to your arrival in England from India? You arrived here, aged 18? You've toured India with your father's company for all this time. You've done a film, Shakespeare Wallah. You know, you're very experienced. What was it like arriving in England and getting work? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
It was almost impossible to start with. And I started writing letters to agents, couldn't get an agent for love or money, because they said, where did you go to drama school? I said, well, I haven't been to drama school, but I told them the story of my exotic childhood, but nothing. No, you have to better go to drama school, dear, and then come ring me. So I couldn't get an agent for ages. Then the film opened. I ended up with, finally, a very good agent, who then sent me to many, many, many auditions, and I failed always.
Why did you fail, do you think? Because you were very experienced.
Terrified. I had no experience of auditioning. I had no experience of doing anything that wasn't part of the family, which was putting up a set, learning the lines, probably because my mother had spoken them and I knew them already, or my sister had, I knew the play, Merchant of Venice. I knew by heart when I was about 10.
Given the struggle, were you at all tempted to go back to India? Say, well, I haven't cut it in England. I'm going home to where I'm loved.
Michael, no.
No.
I was very determined to stick it out. My father was furious for a short while, for several years actually, the fact that I'd left his theatre company and come to England.
I suppose one big breakthrough was doing that television film play that you did, The Mayfly and the Frog, with Sir John Gielgud, no less than 1966, I think it was. So.
You won't escape. Mario! Whatever you do, let go of that damn beast. Mario, damn you! What the hell are you staring like that for? Have you never seen a naked man before?
No, I haven't.
God, it's a girl. Mario!
Do you always drink champagne in the bar?
Yes. You won't get away with this intrusion.
Are you GQ1?
I am Gabriel Cantara.
Means nothing to me.
My dear child, when you've lived in the world as long as I have...
I bet I've seen a great deal more of it than you, Cantara. Momo and I have been up and down the world.
Yes, I can just imagine, buzzing about like a mayfly on the river. But one of these days, young madam in trousers, plop, you'll end up inside the belly of a frog.
Fancy yourself. Actually, you look a bit like a frog.
I don't look in the least like a frog.
You're like that frog that puffs itself up when it's in danger.
How dare you be so rude to me? Now I'm going to show you my paintings.
I've already seen your etchings.
Don't be impertinent. I'm going to show you my paintings because they happen to be just on the way to the front door.
By then, I was renting a friend's room. I was in Shepherd's Market, I think. What's the one behind the curtain?
Yes, it's a quite risky area.
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Ah.
Because that's where I was living, and I was quite young. I would go back and I'd say, do you know, it's very friendly round here. And I never understood. I said, you know, it's the only place in England where people smile and say hello. They were all considerably older and gentlemen, but and I just didn't get it.
Oh, well, at least you didn't go home with anyone.
No.
When did a proper boyfriend come along? Who's your first boyfriend that you remember?
I think I had several sort of wafty ones.
This is swinging London.
I know, it was very swinging, and everyone was swinging but me.
No hot pants?
Oh, hot pants.
You did.
I had the hot pants and the short skirts, but no swinging. So then I did fall in love with various actors. And had a few, but they were nothing serious at all.
And was that fun, or did it discombobulate? Did it damage your career?
I don't think it made any difference.
Let's hope they're not watching. I don't think it made any difference, frankly. They came, they went. I don't know who they were now. It's a long time ago, bless them.
And we wrote to a number of actors who we thought might like to be in a company where there was no manager, but we managed ourselves. So we decided what plays we would do, what parts we should play, who should direct them, who should design them, how much we should be paid, where we should play them. All those decisions normally made by a manager. And one of the actors we wrote to was Felicity Kendal.
It seemed right to start it. It ended up as a very funny situation, actually, at some point, because in the end we had meeting after meeting and things that never progressed beyond meeting and talking.
There were meetings during rehearsal and once we were performing, breakfast meetings, lunchtime meetings, meetings after rehearsal, meetings sometimes in the interval of the performances. Meetings certainly afterwards. We got to know each other very, very well.
So you're saying actors' democracy doesn't always work?
You never have equality in our business. There's no such thing. But it was a wonderful experience, and it was a very good idea. And it was a time when, you know, you were being told what to do a lot in those days. You know, the director was king and blah.
So it happened that Felicity and I both had leading parts in Tis Pity She's a Whore, playing the brother and sister who fatally fall in love. I remember in Tis Pity She's a Whore we had to be careful because she was pregnant. Not that she kept referring to it, but it was just known. And there's some violence in that play, and throwing her about on the bed and so on. But in the main, I was in love with her. She's my sister. well, very easy to fall in love with Felicity Kendal. And you're sort of aware when you're on stage with her that all the men in the audience are thinking, ooh, I wish I was Ian McKellen.
It didn't always work, of course, because Ian was the lead in several of the plays, and he was always best, because he is best. And then he was a butler in a Fado farce. And, of course, he was best in that with 3 scenes. So it...
I just remember absolute professionalism, determination to get it right, wanting to do it well together. And the same with those little parts in Ruling the Roost, the Fado farce. We worked out bits of business together that we thought was amusing. Well, you can imagine she was the perkiest of maids in a little outfit, a little apron and some doylin on her head.
I think it's probably the Norman Conquest from which I remember it first, which is Alan Ayckbourn, and it's a series of plays.
We were a wonderful unit. And one day I got a call after the show, and Richard Briers would like to come round and say hi. And of course he was a star, wonderful Richard Briers, actor, stage and screen and television. And I said, and he came round and he said, just to say, I've got this potty little series that the BBC want to do. It's only 6 or 7, and it probably won't work. There'll be no money, and it may be a complete disaster because it's such an off-the-wall idea. And I wondered if you'd read the thing and see if you like it to play Barbara, the wife. Of course, I did. I knew I would do it anyway. Because I wanted to work with him, and I read the script, and they were just amazing.
Now, that is a miracle.
If you so much as sniggers, I'm going straight back indoors.
Margot, we couldn't be more grateful.
Even I can see that this is a genuine emergency. After all, what are friends for? Mind you, this will be the first and last time, so make good use of me.
Right, run a bean to the box, please. And Barbara, you can start shifting that lot. Well, if that's the best you can do, we'll be here till Christmas.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. Goodbye.
No, Margot! Oh, Tom, for goodness sake, that's the most ungrateful thing I've ever heard. I mean, Margot's doing her best. She's the odd one out here. It's not her fault if she's all weak and feeble.
Weak and feeble, am I?
Was there ever a bad day on The Good Life?
Do you know, I don't think there was ever a bad day. I was going through a divorce at the time, so it was at a time when I was actually not particularly having a wonderful, happy, settled time. And yet, I do not remember that coming in to the rehearsal room or to the performances at all. There was something, it was a bubble of wonder, that show and those people. And we became close friends. Laughter was actually mostly what happened backstage.
Well, which was good, because clearly at home tears is what was happening.
I say, would you mind not doing that?
Why not? You asked me to hand them to you.
No. Not there, no.
What?
There.
Jerry, what are you doing?
I'm doing what you're doing.
Oh, that?
No, yes, you're doing it against me. Don't. Stop it.
Well, it's my hair.
Yes, no, it's not that. No, it's the gesture. Brings out the beast in me.
Jerry, don't be
had a yen for you, you know that. When you do that, well, more of a yen, really.
Jay, don't you stop that.
I can't help it. It's a fact of life.
Jay, I'm a married woman.
Well, so am I. I still fancy you.
Jay, you mustn't say things like that. It's very flattering, but you mustn't say things like that.
Of course, one reads about it in the papers.
What?
Wife swapping. That's happened, you know.
I think wife swapping is silly. I mean, after all, if a wife loves... If a wife loves her husband, what is she going to swap him for?
You do, don't you?
What?
Love your husband.
Yes, I do. And you love Margot.
Yes, I do. When you do that...
Now, Jay. Starting that again. Jerry, why are you putting the dishes in the freezer?
There's a special quality that Felicity has, that little round face, when her lips come together, and you think that there's a whole bundle of laughter going to tumble out if she's not careful. And joy, and we'll laugh with her.
This special royal edition of The Good Life is over, and the cast and many people connected with the show are already lined up on the studio floor. Richard Briers, Felicity Kendal. And incidentally, I gather this is the first situation comedy which the Queen has ever seen produced in a television studio.
So The Good Life, everything takes off from there.
Everything.
But what I think is fascinating about you is that you've managed to actually do the two things of being a very popular television star and still doing the big classical work to fulfill your parents' ambition for you. So that's been good, hasn't it?
I think without a doubt, the imprint of my father's beliefs of why you become an actor, certainly not because you want your name in lights, but it's nice, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the reason. And also his belief that it's the words, it's the writing. You can be as wonderful as you like, but if you haven't got the writing, that's not going to make any difference. I always went for the one that I thought was the writing was better rather than the part. I would prefer a smaller part in a brilliant new play than a huge, great Anna Karenina kind of situation. But I didn't see myself in that. I always thought I was more of a character actress.
Felicity had a thrilling part playing opposite Rudolf Nureyev in Valentino, directed by Ken Russell.
Proust was once asked, if the world ended today, what would you do in your last hour?
Life would suddenly seem wonderful to us if we were threatened with sudden death. Just think how many projects, travels, love affairs our life hides from us, made invisible by our laziness, which, certain of a future, delays them incessantly.
Your career again changes somewhat. In 1979, you joined the National Theatre Company to play Mozart's wife in Amadeus, famously, with Paul Schofield as Salieri, Simon Callow as Mozart. I mean, going to the National, was that again a sort of coming home to where you felt you belonged?
Joining the National was a great joy for for me. It was absolutely amazing thing to do.
Were you all aware that Amadeus was going to become the hit it did become when you were rehearsing it?
I remember reading it and thinking, this is just astonishing and astounding. And of course the score was rather good. And the first preview, you just thought, that I am transported, and it's simple as that, into something else. So it was one of the great things to be part of.
Yes, I did see Amadeus at the National Theatre when she was playing Mozart's wife, half seduced by the wicked Salieri, magnificently played by Paul Schofield. But I saw enough of Felicity's performance to know that she was doing it very well indeed. Men adore her. I always imagine that she has stage door Johnnies queuing up with flowers and champagne at stage doors, sending her lovelorn telegrams. And that she would accept them with a great deal of grace and good humour.
And that was the start of a very long professional relationship with Peter Hall that takes in the Old Vic and the West End. I'll come on to that a bit later, but I'm intrigued by your trust in Peter Hall, his trust in you.
He gave me a range of roles that I don't think any other director would have considered, because he was also of the old school where you didn't have to be the type of person to play that character. So, which is much more now. People are cast a little bit for type. And, oh, you can't possibly play that, you're too tall, or you can't possibly play that because you're not, you're not the right thing. And his whole, and my father's belief is acting is pretending. So this thing of, oh, I have to play this part because it's just like me, to me is anathema. The whole point is I want to play this part because it's not like me.
What do you think was the reason you were getting the work? What were you giving?
I think I was able to show, when my knees weren't knocking during an audition, was that I knew the craft, I loved the craft, and I was quite genuinely after the perfection of the whole piece rather than my part, because that's how I work and that's how I like other people to work.
You did a wonderful series with Peter Hall, I remember, called The Chamomile Lawn, actually, based on a Mary Wesley novel.
Happy?
Surprised.
Why so?
I've been married so long to Richard. I suppose I thought I was past that sort of thing.
I've suddenly realised why I married Richard. Why? His leg. It was his leg. Oh, well, that's a good reason. Much better than if it was his leg. Oh dear, isn't it awful how one says those things? What were you going to say? Well, I was going to say that was much better than if his leg had come between you. And of course it can't. No, poor dear. He always takes it off before we go to bed.
Oh, I was always in love with somebody, without any doubt. But I don't know, well, I can say Robert Bolt because he's dead and he wouldn't mind. I adored him.
What was special about him? How interesting.
His mind. His mind and the way he wrote lines. I don't know. He's very funny, but not always kind. But anyway, it was talent. I do tend to go for talent.
You do. I remember.
But you know, talent is energy, isn't it? It's strength. It's all sorts of things.
Yeah. And of course, you're associated with Tom Stoppard, another writer, and you appeared in several of his plays.
5, I think.
5.
I think with Tom Stoppard, he felt that I could say his words in the way that he wanted me to say them, and he could hear them. So I think it's like a little bit like a musician. I don't think somebody writes it for somebody to play, but they want them to be instrumental in playing it.
Speeding on through your career, in 2021, you did your first musical. I think it was your first ever. Anything Goes.
I know.
It
feels so fine to be a bride. And how's the groom?
Why, he's slightly fried. It's delightful.
It's delicious.
It's the lovely.
What took you so long?
I
to be
can't
musical?
sing.
But you can dance, because we know you did Strictly Come Dancing on television.
Felicity Kendal had a talk with the producers of Strictly by saying, I would do Strictly, I would love to do Strictly, but only if you give me the little Italian Vincent Simone, the Italian pony, because I'm not big enough to be a stallion. And I have to be honest, Felicity Kendal was so attentive. She had a lovely posture, and she had the elegance, which is something that you either have it or you don't. So she was a perfect candidate to be doing well in a show like Strictly Come Dancing.
Now, you know what we need? We attach the banana on one foot and the apple on the other foot. Now you know which foot is which.
Yes.
And banana. Apple. Banana. And banana.
And woo!
And up.
It works!
The problem is that on the night you can't do it with bananas and apples strapped on their feet.
Could be a mess.
When you're on Strictly, there is no place to hide because it's live TV. You're in front of 13, 14, 15 million people watching you, and you have a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and that's it. Well, for me, professional, it's what we do. We grew up performing and acting at the same time. So I remember the day where we were having a lovely coffee, and I said to Felicity, Felicity, I need you to act. Forget about the dancing. Can we just do a performance where you just become an actress? And that, oh my goodness, I can never forget the way a facial expression changed completely. And that's how she managed to break through, and we start focusing on the acting first before we go to the choreography and the steps. Yeah, so this is the American Smooth in Blackpool. Yeah, that was a big, big floor to cover. Gorgeous. She looks gorgeous. Beautiful line. Oh, look at those kicks with the music. Perfect. Perfect. There's another lift coming. Wow. This is a big lift. Well done. Well done.
I saw Felicity most recently in Sean Mathias's production of Philomena. Not in the West End, not in the centre, playing mainly to a local audience with like-minded actors who were there simply for the joy of putting on the play. And that's the spirit you get when you're with a company of people who feel the same as you do, and it's nothing to do with money. It's nothing to do with fame. It's nothing to do with prestige. It's nothing to do with trying to impress people. It's simply, let's do this play as well as we possibly can. And the actors who feel like that are, to my mind, the backbone of British theatre. And Felicity is such a person.
I love it. I love it. And I love the different audiences. There's some people do ask, you know this again and again, which would you prefer? I would always choose the theatre because every night is different, but also you're in charge of how it goes. And if it goes wrong, you can't be saved. It's your problem. But there is something absolutely, it's just the best feeling in the world if you're in a comedy and you go out, and as I say, you have to have, the writing has to be there. But you serve the writing, you say this, boom, you get the laugh, and then there's a laugh. And then you do a thing which is sort of technical, is don't let them laugh on the third one because of timing. Come in and then collect a laugh at the end. It's like winning the lottery or something. You know, it's just such a gorgeous feeling because you're working with the audience. And you're not telling them what to do, but you're saying, come along on this. And then if it's sad and you're doing what the writer wants you to do, which is to break somebody's heart. If you can get that again, it's a communal thing. And I don't think there's anything as wonderful as being in a group of 300 or 1,000 or 600 or 150 people, and you are communicating the feeling that writer, he or she, wants you to communicate, and you're all understanding the same thing and interpreting it in a different way perhaps, but it's one.
Can I ask you a few more general questions? I mean, for one thing, family, you have 2 children, you've got grandchildren. Looking at your life, do you think family matters as much as fame? And how do you balance the two?
It's a difficult thing because to me, family and work are so much linked. And I grew up in a family with working and thing. I then married an actor, so I was working and family. And then Michael, love of my life, I married, had a child, family and acting. There was no, it's very difficult to say which. They were so intertwined.
Mm-hmm. Is there behind that a sort of very strong sense of self-discipline?
I think it's panic more than anything else. In that, if I'm not disciplined, I start to panic. I mean, I don't mean panic attacks. I mean, I don't feel happy. I think I make lists, a lot of lists, and one of the things I love about working is the discipline, because the thing about the theatre, unlike filming, is there is no question of you thinking, well, can I start 5 minutes later, or can I have a break? Yeah. That is absolute iron discipline. You've got to be there, you've got to do it.
Why, in the last analysis, do you act?
I love it. And it's a joy to make people laugh, and it's a great comfort to make people cry. I don't know why I say that, but it is, because crying is quite difficult for people, to be okay with it. But in a way, when it happens in a theatre, it's a wonderful release, and it's a safe place to cry.
Sanju.
I can't stand the way you live.
You don't know anything about it. I'm proud that we're actors and the company and everything we do. People who've never been on the stage don't know what it's like. It's a wonderful life. I wouldn't ever want to be anything else. Acting's my whole life. Without it, I'd be just nothing.
I'm sorry I kicked that.
I couldn't ever give it up.
Getting a laugh or making the audience cry is might be one definition of what's expected of actors and what's enjoyable about acting. But I can't think of Felicity's face without seeing it smiling. It's a smile which radiates across an auditorium, a large auditorium. She's small in stature, but huge in heart and spirit. And that spirit is based, it seems to me, on a view of the world which encourages her to laugh rather than cry.
In the end, you've just got to laugh. That laughing is a medicine. Laughing and a walk will get you through most things.